The warning sirens screamed through the mining station like angry metal birds. 8-year-old Dae-ho Kim dropped his toy spaceship and looked up from where he sat in the corridor. The lights above him flashed red and white, making scary shadows on the walls. "Dad," Dae-ho called out, but his voice got lost in the loud noise. His father, Sung-min, was working in the deep mines below. The boy had been waiting for him to come back for lunch. The floor shook under Dae-ho's feet. Something was very wrong. "All humans to the escape pods now," a voice shouted from the speakers. "Reactor failure. All humans evacuate immediately." Dae-ho started running toward the human living area. Other people ran past him, carrying bags and pushing each other. A woman fell down and dropped her baby. Dae-ho stopped to help her up. "Thank you, little one," she said, holding her baby tight. "Now run!" The boy kept running. The corridors felt like they were getting longer with each step. Behind him, he could hear metal breaking and machines exploding. The whole station was shaking apart. When Dae-ho reached the escape pod area, he saw something terrible. The human pods were crushed under big pieces of metal that had fallen from the ceiling. People were screaming and trying to move the heavy chunks, but it was no use. "The pods are broken," someone yelled. "We're trapped!" Dae-ho looked around for his father, but Sung-min was still down in the mines. The communication system was dead. There was no way to call him. That's when Dae-ho saw them. The Vellani looked like big deer made of living crystal. They had 4 arms and moved very slowly and carefully. Most humans didn't pay much attention to them because they were quiet and peaceful. They ran a small trading post near the human area. Kylon was the youngest Vellani on the station. His crystal skin was light blue and his 4 eyes were kind. His mate Silara was with him, along with 2 other Vellani families. They were heading toward their own escape pod. "Please help us," the woman with the baby cried out to them. "Our pods are destroyed." Kylon stopped walking. He looked at the crying humans, then at his own small escape pod. It was only big enough for the Vellani families. If they took humans too, they would be in great danger. Silara touched Kylon's arm with one of her hands. "We cannot leave them," she said in her soft voice. "Look at the children." There were 4 human children trapped with the adults. Dae-ho, the woman's baby, and 2 other kids who were crying for their parents. Kylon made a decision that would change everything. "Bring the children," he told the humans. "Only the children. Our pod is too small for everyone, but we can save them." "No," some adults shouted. "Take us too." "If we take adults, the pod will crash and all the children will die," Kylon explained. "This is the only way." The woman with the baby kissed her child and handed him to Silara. Other parents did the same, even though it broke their hearts. They knew Kylon was right. Dae-ho was the last child. He looked around for his father one more time, but Sung-min was still nowhere to be seen. "I will keep them safe," Silara promised the parents. "I swear this to you." The Vellani escape pod was cramped with 4 extra passengers. Kylon had to leave behind all their trading goods and personal items to make room. As they launched from the dying station, Dae-ho pressed his face against the small window. He watched the mining station explode in a ball of fire and metal. "Dad," he whispered, but he knew his father was gone. The escape pod flew through space, but something was wrong. Warning lights blinked on the control panel. The extra weight was making the engines work too hard. They were losing power. "Can we make it to the rescue point?" Silara asked her mate. Kylon looked at the readings and shook his head. "We're too heavy. The engines will fail before we get there." "Then what do? We find somewhere to land." Kylon found a small moon nearby. It had air to breathe and looked safe, but landing would be very dangerous with their damaged pod. "Everyone hold tight," he said. "This will be rough." The pod fell toward the moon like a burning rock. Kylon used all his skill to control their crash, but it wasn't enough. They hit the ground hard. In the last second before impact, Kylon threw himself over the human children. His crystal body was much stronger than human skin and bones. He used himself as a shield to protect them. The crash was terrible. Metal bent and broke. The pod rolled over and over before it finally stopped. When the noise ended, there was only silence. Dae-ho opened his eyes. He was lying under Kylon's heavy arm. The Vellani's crystal skin was cracked and leaking blue fluid. His breathing was slow and weak. "Kylon?" Silara called out. She was hurt too, but not as badly. The other Vellani had died in the crash. "The children," Kylon whispered. "Are they safe?" Dae-ho sat up. The other 3 human children were alive. Scared and crying but alive, Kylon had saved them all. "We're okay," Deho told him. "Thank you." Kylon smiled, which looked strange on his alien face. "Good, that is good." His voice was getting weaker. "Silara, take care of them. Someone will come." "Don't leave me," Silara begged. "I'm not leaving. I'm just going to sleep for a while." Kylon's 4 eyes slowly closed. "Tell the humans what we did. Tell them why." Kylon died holding the children safe in his arms. For 3 days, Silara kept the human children alive on the moon. She shared her food with them even though she was badly hurt. She sang them Volani songs when they cried for their parents. She told them stories about her homeworld to keep them from being afraid. When the human rescue ships finally found them, they discovered something that would change the galaxy forever. An alien mother, wounded and alone, protecting human children like they were her own. Captain Jaewon Park was the first human to step out of the rescue ship. He saw Silara holding baby in her 4 arms, with the other children sleeping safely beside her. Her crystal skin was dull from pain and exhaustion, but she was still keeping watch over them. "They saved us," Deho told the captain. "Kylon died to save us." Captain Park looked at the crashed pod and the body of the Volani who had given everything to protect human children. He had seen many things in his years in space, but nothing like this. As they flew back to human space, Silara sang one last lullaby to the children. She didn't know it yet, but her mate's sacrifice had planted a seed. Soon that seed would grow into something that would shake the stars themselves. Captain Jaewon Park sat in his office on Earth, staring at the report on his screen. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue, but he couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen on that moon. The official report was simple and cold. Volani traders assisted in human evacuation. 4 children saved. But Jaewon knew the truth was much bigger than those few words. He had tried to get someone to listen. He sent the report to his commanders, to the government, to anyone who would read it. But everyone was busy with other things. "Just another rescue mission," they said. "File it and move on." But Jaewon couldn't move on. A knock on his door made him look up. Dr. Yujin Choi walked in, carrying a cup of coffee and looking tired. She was a scientist who studied alien life, but she was also a mother of 2 young children. "I read your report," she said, sitting down across from his desk. "Tell me what really happened out there." Jaewon leaned back in his chair. Finally, someone wanted to listen. "It wasn't just a rescue, Doctor. It was a sacrifice. That Volani named Kylon didn't have to save those children. His people could have escaped safely in their own pod. But they didn't. No. They chose to risk everything for human children they barely knew, and Kylon died protecting them." Dr. Choi sipped her coffee and thought about this. "Have you talked to the children?" "I tried, but the psychologists said they needed time to heal first. All except one." "Which one?" "Daeho Kim, the 8-year-old. He keeps asking about Silara. He wants to see her again." Dr. Choi stood up. "Then let's go talk to him." They found Daeho at the Children's Center in New Seoul. He was playing with blocks, building what looked like a spaceship. When he saw Captain Park, his face lit up. "Captain, did you bring Silara? Is she coming to visit?" Jaewon knelt down next to the boy. "She's still recovering, Daeho. But she sends her love. She saved us," Daeho said seriously. "After Kylon died, she took care of us. She sang songs and told us stories. She gave us her food even when she was hurt." Dr. Choi sat down too. "What kind of stories did she tell you?" "About her home planet. It was beautiful, with crystal trees and purple grass. But bad aliens called the Thrakari came and destroyed it. They killed lots of Volani people and made the rest into slaves." "The Thrakari?" Dr. Choi looked at Captain Park. "I need to research this." "Silara said the Volani are almost gone now," Daeho continued. "The Thrakari hunt them because they won't fight back. Silara was crying when she told us that story. That night, Dr. Choi worked late in her lab, searching through alien databases. What she found made her sick to her stomach. The Thrakari Empire was huge and violent. They conquered weak species and used them as slaves. The Volani had been their victims for over 50 years. The Volani were peaceful plant eaters who had never developed weapons or warships. When the Thrakari attacked their worlds, the Volani couldn't fight back. Most were killed or enslaved. The survivors scattered across the galaxy, hiding wherever they could. Dr. Choi found reports of Thrakari hunting parties tracking down Volani refugees. They didn't even use them as slaves anymore. They just killed them for sport. They're committing genocide, she whispered to herself. The next morning, she called Ambassador Tae-Young Lee, Earth's top diplomat. They met for breakfast at a quiet restaurant. The Villani who saved those children, Dr. Choi explained. They're part of one of the last free groups, maybe a few thousand left in the whole galaxy. Ambassador Lee stirred his coffee slowly. And the Thrakari? They'll find them eventually. When they do, they'll kill every last one. What do you want me to do about it? Earth doesn't get involved in alien wars. This isn't a war. This is murder. And these aliens died to save human children. Ambassador Lee was quiet for a long time. You want Earth to protect them. I want Earth to remember what they did for us. Meanwhile, Sungmin Kim had survived the mining station explosion. He was rescued from the deep mines 2 days after his son was saved. When he learned what had happened, he started his own campaign. Sungmin created a video message that he sent to everyone he knew. In it, he told the story of how aliens had saved his son's life. He showed pictures of Kylon and Silera. He asked a simple question. What do we owe someone who dies to save our children? The video spread quickly through human space. People shared it with their friends and family. They talked about it at work and school. Soon, millions of humans knew the story of the Villani sacrifice, but the government still didn't want to get involved. It's not our problem, politicians said. We can't save every alien species in the galaxy. Dr. Choi kept researching. She found more terrible things about what the Thrakari were doing. They had destroyed 12 Villani worlds. They had killed millions of innocent people. They were planning to finish the job within the next year. She also learned something else. The Thrakari thought humans were weak because we helped other species sometimes. They laughed at human kindness and called it stupid. Ambassador Lee began meeting with other government officials. He showed them Dr. Choi's research. He told them about Daeho and the other children. He explained what the Villani sacrifice meant. If we do nothing, he said, we're telling the galaxy that human lives don't matter to us, that alien kindness means nothing. Is that who we want to be? Some officials started to listen. They began to understand that this was about more than just one alien species. This was about what kind of people humans were. Captain Park was promoted and given a new assignment. His job was to find all the Villani refugee groups and learn more about their situation. What he discovered was even worse than Dr. Choi's research had shown. The Villani were dying out. Not just from Thrakari attacks, but from despair. They had lost hope. Many were so sad that they simply stopped eating and faded away. But in every refugee camp, Park heard the same story. The Villani had heard about Kylon and Silera's sacrifice. They had heard that humans were grateful. For the first time in decades, some Villani had hope again. They believe you will help us, an old Villani leader told Park. Kylon's deed has touched your hearts. Is this true? Park looked at the alien's 4 hopeful eyes. I don't know yet, but I'm going to try to make it true. Back on Earth, the pressure was building. More humans learned about the Villani story every day. They started asking their leaders why nothing was being done. Protests began in major cities. People carried signs with pictures of Kylon and the children he saved. They chanted simple words, remember the Villani. Honor their sacrifice. Dr. Choi finally got permission to bring Silera to Earth. The Villani female was still recovering from her injuries, but she agreed to come. When Silera met with government officials, she didn't ask for help. She didn't beg or demand anything. She simply told them about her people. We are not warriors, she said in her soft voice. We do not know how to fight or conquer. We only know how to love and protect. Kylon protected human children because that is who we are. We protect the innocent. And now your people need protection, Ambassador Lee said. Yes, but I do not ask for it. Kylon did not save those children to create a debt. He did it because it was right. After Silera left the meeting, the room was very quiet. Finally, one official spoke. What kind of people would we be if we let them die? It was a question that would soon shake the entire galaxy. Captain Jaewon Park had made a decision that would change everything. He was going to break the rules. For months he had watched politicians talk and debate while the Villani continued to die. The official report sat in filing systems while Thrakari hunting parties tracked down more refugees. Park couldn't wait anymore. He had recorded everything during the rescue mission. The crashed pod, Kylon's body protecting the children, Silera singing lullabies while she was bleeding and hurt. The government had ordered him to keep the footage classified. But Park didn't care about orders anymore. On a cold Tuesday morning, he uploaded everything to the public networks. The footage hit human space like a bomb. The first video showed Kylon in his final moments, his crystal body wrapped around 4 human children as the escape pod crashed. The second showed Silura 3 days later, barely conscious but still holding the baby, still keeping watch over children that weren't even her species. Within hours, billions of humans had seen the videos. They watched an alien father die to save human kids. They saw an alien mother suffer to keep them safe. The government tried to take the videos down, but it was too late. People had already copied them and shared them everywhere. Min-Su Huang was watching the news in his apartment when the footage first appeared. He was a factory worker who had lost his own daughter in a mining accident 2 years ago. When he saw Kylon sacrifice himself for someone else's children, he broke down and cried. The next day, Min-Su stood outside the government building in Seoul with a sign that said, "Remember Kylon." By evening, 100 people had joined him. By the end of the week, there were thousands. The protests spread to every major city on Earth and the colonies. People weren't angry or violent. They just stood quietly, holding pictures of the Villani who had died to save human children. Honor their sacrifice became the simple message everyone shared. President Yoon Hae-jung tried to ignore the protests at first. She had bigger problems to worry about than one alien species. Earth was dealing with trade disputes, border conflicts, and economic troubles. But the protests kept growing. Dr. Yoo-jin Choi appeared on every news show that would have her. She explained the situation simply and clearly. The Villani are almost extinct. The Thrakari Empire is hunting down the last survivors. These people saved our children, and now they're going to die unless we help them. But why is this Earth's responsibility? News anchors asked. Because we're human, Dr. Choi always answered. And humans protect those who protect us. Fleet Admiral So Young-nam watched the protests from her office at military headquarters. She was a tough woman who had spent 30 years in space, fighting pirates and defending human colonies. She had seen war and death and terrible things. But when she watched the footage of Silura singing to human children while her mate lay dead beside her, the Admiral felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt ashamed that her government was doing nothing. Admiral Nam began quietly moving ships and supplies. If the government decided to act, she wanted to be ready. The breaking point came when someone had a simple idea. Let the children speak, Sungmin Kim suggested during a protest planning meeting. Let them tell their own story. A week later, 8-year-old Dae-ho Kim stood in front of the United Earth Assembly. The huge room was full of important politicians and diplomats from across human space. News cameras from every major network were watching. Dae-ho looked very small at the big podium, but his voice was clear and strong. My name is Dae-ho Kim. Kylon and Silura saved my life. The room was completely quiet. Kylon died so I could live. He used his body to protect me when our ship crashed. Silura took care of me for 3 days, even though she was hurt and sad. Dae-ho held up a drawing he had made. It showed a crystal figure with 4 arms holding human children. This is Kylon. He was brave and kind. Silura told me that her people are dying and there's almost none left. She cried when she told me that. The boy's voice got a little shaky, but he kept talking. The adults keep saying this isn't our problem. But Kylon made it our problem when he saved us. If we don't help Silura's people, then his sacrifice was for nothing. Dae-ho looked directly at President Jang. Why won't you help Silura's people like she helped me? The room stayed quiet for a long time after Dae-ho finished speaking. Many of the politicians looked uncomfortable. Some looked ashamed. President Jang stood up slowly. Thank you, Dae-ho. Your words are very brave. That night, President Jang called an emergency meeting with her top advisors. Ambassador Lee, Dr. Choi, Admiral Nam, and Captain Park were all there. Tell me the truth, the president said. All of it. Ambassador Lee spoke first. The Thrakari will finish killing the Villani within 6 months. We have detailed intelligence about their plans. How many Villani are left? Maybe 50,000 in the entire galaxy. Scattered in small groups, hiding wherever they can. Dr. Choi added. But that's not the only issue. Other alien species are watching us. They want to see what humans do when someone saves our children. Meaning, if we do nothing, they'll think human gratitude is worthless. Human protection means nothing. It will affect every relationship we have in the galaxy. Admiral Nam leaned forward. There's something else. The Thrakari have been testing our resolve for months. They're expanding toward human space. They think we're too soft to fight them. Are we? President Jiang asked. No, ma'am. We're not. Captain Park spoke for the first time. I've been to the Volani refugee camps. They believe we'll help them because of what Kylon did. They have hope for the first time in decades. If we abandon them now, we'll destroy that hope forever. President Jiang walked to the window and looked out at the protest crowds below. Thousands of humans stood quietly in the rain holding pictures of dead Volani heroes. What exactly are you proposing? Ambassador Lee took a deep breath. Something that's never been done before. We want Earth to declare the Volani species under our official protection and guardianship. Guardianship? Full protection backed by military force. Any attack on Volani civilians becomes an attack on Earth. We take responsibility for their safety and welfare. The cost would be enormous, the president said. The cost of doing nothing would be greater, Dr. Choi replied. We'd lose our souls. President Jiang thought about Daeho's question. Why won't you help Silara's people like she helped me? She thought about the footage of Kylon dying to protect human children. She thought about Silara singing lullabies while bleeding and alone. She thought about what kind of species humans wanted to be. Draft the declaration, she said finally. If an alien father can die for human children, then humans can live to protect his people. 3 days later, President Jiang stood before the same assembly where Daeho had spoken. This time, representatives from across the galaxy were watching. Today, Earth makes a promise, she began. We declare the Volani species under the protection and guardianship of humanity. Any aggression against Volani civilians will be considered an act of war against Earth. The alien ambassadors in the room looked shocked. No species had ever done this before. Some will ask why we take this responsibility. The answer is simple. The Volani showed us who they are when they saved our children. Now we show them who we are. Admiral Nam was ready. Within hours, human fleets were moving toward every known Volani refugee location. The message was clear. Humanity's protection was real and absolute. The Thrakari Empire received the news with laughter at first. They thought humans were bluffing. They would learn very soon how wrong they were. In refugee camps across the galaxy, Volani families looked up at the stars with hope for the first time in decades. The humans were coming. Kylon's sacrifice had not been forgotten. The galaxy would never be the same. The news of Earth's declaration spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In palaces and war rooms on 1,000 worlds, alien leaders tried to understand what humanity had just done. On the Thrakari homeworld, War Commander Graktul smashed his drinking cup against the wall when he heard the announcement. Guardianship? He roared at his officers. The humans think they can protect those crystal weaklings? His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Brackmore, shifted nervously. Commander, the humans have a large fleet. Perhaps we should be careful. Graktul's yellow eyes blazed with anger. The humans are soft plant eaters, just like the Volani. They make pretty speeches, but they won't fight. We'll test their resolve and they'll run away crying. Meanwhile, in human space, Fleet Admiral So Young Nam was making sure Earth's promise had teeth. The Sol Defense Fleet was the largest military force in known space. 150 warships, from fast patrol boats to massive dreadnoughts that could crack planets. Admiral Nam deployed them all. Operation Guardian Shield is now active, she announced to her captains. Every Volani refugee site gets a protection fleet. Minimum response time to any location is 4 hours. Maximum response is total. Captain Jaewon Park now commanded the heavy cruiser Indomitable, one of Earth's newest and most powerful ships. His orders were simple: protect the Volani settlement in the Kepler system. When Park arrived at Kepler, he found 3,000 Volani refugees living in basic shelters on a small moon. They had been hiding there for 2 years, surviving on whatever food they could grow in the rocky soil. The Volani leader was an elderly female named Talwen. She had lost her entire family to Thrakari raids, but she still took care of the orphan children in the camp. "Why do you help us?" she asked Captain Park when he visited the surface. "We have nothing to give you in return." Park thought about Daeho, about Kylon's sacrifice, about Silara's songs in the darkness. "You already gave us something. You showed us what real courage looks like." Back on Earth, Dr. Yujin Choi was working on something bigger than military protection. She called it the Volani Rehabilitation Program. "We can't just guard them," she explained to President Jiang. "We need to help them rebuild their entire civilization. The Program offered Villani refugees new homes in human space, education for their children, and the freedom to practice their culture without fear. Dozens of human worlds volunteered to host Villani. Communities Atzilara became the first Villani ambassador to Earth. She worked closely with Ambassador Tae-Young Lee to create the formal protection agreements. My people have forgotten how to hope, Silara told the human diplomats. For 50 years we have only known fear and death. You are teaching us to dream again. The rehabilitation centers filled quickly as word spread through the refugee camps. Villani families began making dangerous journeys to reach human protection, traveling in secret across hostile space. But the Thrakari were watching. War Commander Graktul decided to test human resolve with a simple plan. He would attack one small Villani settlement and see if the humans really would fight back. He chose a refugee camp in the outer spiral, far from the main human fleet positions. 50 Villani families lived there, including many children. It seemed like an easy target. Graktul sent a battle group of 12 warships to destroy the settlement. He didn't expect any resistance. The Thrakari ships jumped into the system on a quiet Tuesday morning. They found exactly what they expected: defenseless Villani refugees and no human ships in sight. Begin orbital bombardment, Graktul's captain ordered. Kill them all. The first plasma bolts were already firing toward the planet when space around the Thrakari fleet exploded into light. Captain Jaewon Park's task force had been waiting, hidden behind the system's largest moon. 12 human ships against 12 Thrakari vessels. It should have been an even fight. It wasn't even close. Human weapons technology was 50 years ahead of anything the Thrakari had. The Indomitable alone carried more firepower than half the Thrakari fleet. This is Captain Park of the Earth ship Indomitable. He broadcast on all frequencies. You are attacking beings under human protection. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The Thrakari captain laughed. Humans do not scare us, weakling. We will crush you and then finish killing the crystal rats. Wrong answer, Park said quietly. The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes. Human ships moved like deadly dancers, their weapons striking with surgical precision. Thrakari vessels exploded one after another, their shields useless against human particle beams and quantum torpedoes. When it was over, 11 Thrakari ships were space debris. The 12th was limping away, badly damaged but alive. Park let it escape on purpose. Let them carry the message back, he told his crew. Human protection is absolute. The surviving Thrakari ship reached home 3 days later. War Commander Graktul stared at the battle footage in shock. His entire attack force had been annihilated by a single human task force. How is this possible? He whispered. The humans have been preparing for war for decades, Brockmore explained. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their ships are faster, stronger, better armed. Then we attack with more ships. Commander, we just lost 12 vessels in 18 minutes. If we send our entire fleet, the humans will destroy that too. For the first time in his career, Graktul felt afraid. The news of the battle spread quickly through alien space. The humans hadn't just won. They had dominated completely. Every military intelligence service in the galaxy began updating their assessments of human capabilities. More importantly, every Villani refugee camp heard the news. The humans had kept their promise. When the Thrakari attacked, Earth's ships had been there to protect them. Refugee groups began moving openly toward human space. They no longer tried to hide their journeys. They knew human fleets would escort them safely home. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to discuss Earth's unprecedented action. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to debate what humanity had done. This is madness, declared the Zentari delegate. One species cannot simply adopt another. It violates every principle of galactic law. What law? Ambassador Lee asked calmly. Show me the rule that says we cannot protect those who protected us. The hegemony representative stood up. This sets a dangerous precedent. What if every strong species decides to protect weaker ones? It could lead to chaos. It could lead to peace, Lee replied. When the strong protect the weak instead of conquering them, everyone benefits. The council argued for hours, but they couldn't do anything to stop Earth's actions. The human fleets were already in position. The protection was already real. Some alien species began to reconsider their own policies. If humans could gain galactic respect by protecting refugees, maybe there was another way to achieve power besides conquest. The Cathani Republic announced they would offer protection to the Moran people, who had been enslaved by pirates for decades. The Stellar Union began discussing similar arrangements with 3 smaller species. A new idea was spreading across the galaxy: strength through protection instead of domination. On Earth, President Jiang received reports from across human space. Villani refugees were arriving safely at protection sites. Human citizens were volunteering to help with resettlement programs. The military was performing flawlessly, but the real success was measured in smaller numbers. Villani birth rates were increasing for the first time in 50 years. Children who had never laughed were learning to play. Elders who had given up hope were teaching traditional songs to young humans. Sil-Ara visited President Jiang to deliver a simple message from her people. "The Villani Council has voted," she said. "We offer our knowledge freely to humanity. Our understanding of crystal technology, our agricultural techniques, our healing arts, everything we know is yours." "That's not necessary," President Jiang replied. "We didn't protect you for profit. We know. That is why we offer it. Kylon saved your children because it was right. You saved our people because it was right. Now we share our gifts because it is right." The Villani had developed technologies that could revolutionize human medicine and engineering. Their crystal-growing techniques could create materials stronger than any human metal. Their agricultural methods could feed billions. But more than technology, they offered something humanity had been searching for without knowing it: a purpose beyond themselves. For the first time in human history, Earth was not just defending its own interests. It was defending the innocent, protecting the weak, standing up for those who could not stand up for themselves. The galaxy was watching to see if humans could maintain this new path. The Thrakari were planning their revenge. Other species were deciding whether to follow Earth's example or oppose it. But in refugee camps across known space, Villani children were learning to sing human lullabies, while human children learned Villani stories about crystal trees and purple grass. The future was being written in the laughter of children who should have been enemies, but chose to be family instead. War Commander Graktal had not slept well in weeks. The destruction of his battle group had shaken the entire Thrakari Empire. For the first time in their history, someone had challenged their power, and won decisively. The loss of face was almost as painful as the loss of ships. Across Thrakari space, subject species whispered that maybe their masters were not as strong as they claimed. Some colonial governors reported increased resistance and rebellion. "We cannot let this stand," Graktul told the War Council. "If we appear weak, our entire empire will collapse." The council chamber was filled with the empire's most experienced military leaders. They had conquered dozens of species and crushed hundreds of rebellions, but they had never faced anything like humanity's response. "The humans surprised us once," Graktul continued. "They will not surprise us again." General Vextar, the Empire's chief strategist, activated a holographic map of known space. Red dots marked every confirmed Villani settlement under human protection. "Operation Bitterroot," Vextar announced. "We attack every Villani settlement simultaneously. The humans cannot protect them all." The plan was massive in scope. The Thrakari would deploy their entire military across 50 star systems, striking every known refugee camp at exactly the same time. Even if the humans had ships everywhere, they couldn't be in 50 places at once. "When the crystal rats are all dead," Graktul said with satisfaction, "the humans will learn that their protection means nothing." The Thrakari began moving ships into position, carefully avoiding human patrol routes. It took 2 months to deploy the forces without being detected. When everything was ready, Graktul gave the order. "All units begin Operation Bitterroot. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Thrakari Empire." On Earth, Fleet Admiral So Young Nam was eating breakfast when the first attack reports came in. Her aide burst into her private dining room with a face pale with shock. "Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from 17 different systems. Thrakari fleets are attacking Villani settlements across the galaxy." Nam dropped her coffee cup and ran to the command center. The main display showed a nightmare scenario. Red warning lights flashing on dozens of star charts as Thrakari forces struck everywhere at once. "How many attacks?" she demanded. 52 confirmed so far. Every major Villani settlement is under assault. Any normal military force would have been overwhelmed. No fleet could respond to 50 attacks simultaneously. The Thrakari had planned well, but they had made one crucial mistake. They didn't understand how human technology really worked. Activate the Terran Response Protocol, Admiral Nam ordered. For 2 years, human engineers had been secretly building something revolutionary. A network of quantum communication relays that could coordinate military actions across vast distances in real time. Combined with humanity's new jump drive technology, it meant human fleets could respond to threats faster than anyone thought possible. All protection fleets, this is Admiral Nam. Proceed to your assigned emergency coordinates. Response time is green. Across human space, hundreds of ships received their orders simultaneously. Captain J-Wan Park was leading a training exercise near Alpha Centauri when the call came. Captain, we have emergency orders. Thrakari forces are attacking Volani settlements in the Kepler system. How long to get there? Park asked. 14 minutes at maximum jump speed. Make it 12. The Indomitable and her escort ships vanished into jump space, racing toward battle. At the Kepler settlement, 3 Thrakari heavy cruisers had begun orbital bombardment. The Volani refugees huddled in underground shelters while plasma bolts struck the surface above them. Talwen, the elderly settlement leader, held frightened children close to her crystal body. The humans will come, she whispered. They promise to protect us. But there are too many attacks, a younger Volani said fearfully. How can they save everyone? Talwen's 4 eyes glowed with quiet faith. Kylon believed in human honor. I believe too. 12 minutes after Admiral Nam gave the order, space around Kepler exploded with incoming human ships. The Indomitable emerged from jump space so close to the Thrakari fleet that her weapons locked on before the enemy could react. Thrakari vessels, this is Captain Park. You have exactly 30 seconds to withdraw before I destroy you. The Thrakari captain was confused. How had human ships arrived so quickly? His intelligence said the nearest human fleet was days away. You cannot be here, he transmitted back. It is impossible. Apparently not, Park replied. 20 seconds. The Thrakari tried to run, but it was too late. Human ships had surrounded them completely. The battle was over before it really began. The same scene played out across the galaxy. In system after system, Thrakari attack forces found themselves facing human fleets that had appeared impossibly fast. The coordination was perfect, the timing flawless. The Thrakari had planned for human ships to be scattered and slow to respond. Instead, they found themselves fighting a military force that moved like a single organism, striking with precision and overwhelming power. By the end of the day, Operation Bitter Root had become a complete disaster for the Thrakari Empire. They had lost over 300 ships while killing fewer than a dozen Volani civilians. But the day's biggest victory was still to come. Captain Park received new orders while his ships were still securing the Kepler system. Captain, proceed to coordinates Zeta 77. Priority Alpha mission. Zeta 77 was in the heart of former Volani space, where the Thrakari had built massive slave camps after conquering the Crystal People's homeworlds. When Park's fleet arrived, they found something that made even hardened space marines cry. The camp held over 100,000 Volani prisoners. They had been enslaved for decades, forced to work in brutal mining operations. Many were barely alive, their crystal skin dull and cracked from years of abuse. This is Captain Park to all Volani in the camp below, he broadcast. You are now under the protection of Earth. The Thrakari Empire no longer has any authority over you. You are free. The rescue operation took 3 days. Human medical ships worked around the clock to treat prisoners who hadn't seen sunlight in years. Transport vessels carried families to safety while marine units secured the camp. An elderly Volani male approached Captain Park during the evacuation. His crystal skin was so damaged that he could barely walk, but his eyes were bright with tears of joy. Are you really human? He asked in a whisper. Yes, I am. We heard stories about humans who fought for us, about a human child who asked his leaders to help our people. We thought they were just dreams. Park knelt down to the old alien's level. They weren't dreams. A Vellani named Kylon died to save human children. Now humans live to save Vellani people. The old Vellani touched Park's face with one trembling hand. Kylon was my grandson. The rescue became known as Operation Gentle Giant, and it was broadcast live across human space. Billions of people watched as their military freed an entire population from slavery. But the broadcasts also reached other species across the galaxy. For the first time, aliens saw humans using their military might not to conquer, but to liberate. Not to enslave, but to free. The Galactic Council was forced to hold emergency sessions as the implications became clear. Humanity had just demonstrated military capabilities that dwarfed most other species, but they had used that power to rescue refugees and defeat slavers. They could conquer half the galaxy if they wanted, the Zentari delegate admitted privately. But instead they're freeing slaves and protecting refugees. What kind of species does that? A dangerous one, replied the hegemony representative. They're making the rest of us look bad. Some species began reviewing their own policies toward weaker neighbors. If humans could gain respect and influence through protection and liberation, maybe there were alternatives to traditional conquest. The Stellar Federation announced they would free all their slave populations. The Kethani Republic began offering protection to 3 endangered species. Even some Thrakari colonial governors started secretly negotiating with their subject peoples. A new philosophy was spreading, strength through justice instead of oppression. The Thrakari Empire itself was beginning to crack. The massive defeat had destroyed their reputation for invincibility. Subject species were rebelling. Colonial worlds were declaring independence. The empire that had ruled through fear was discovering that fear worked both ways. War Commander Graktul was removed from command and executed for his failures. The new leadership began discussing the unthinkable, peace negotiations with the humans. But the day's biggest change was in the Vellani people themselves. For 50 years they had been a dying race, scattered and hopeless. Now they were reunited with family members they thought were dead. They were free to practice their culture. They were protected by the most powerful military in the galaxy. Most importantly, they remembered how to hope. Silara received a communication from Tal Wen on the day after Operation Gentle Giant concluded. The children are singing again, the old settlement leader reported. For the first time in decades, Vellani children are singing the traditional songs. They're teaching them to human children too. And the adults? They're building. Not just shelters for survival, but homes for families, schools for education, workshops for art. They believe in the future again.